Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing great. If you guys could subscribe, I'd appreciate that. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the QAM YouTube page. Tobin and Leroy is available there live every single weekday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we talk all things South Florida sports and shenanigans. Today was a shenanigan-filled Friday, that's for sure. Still licking our wounds, of course, from the season coming to an end. We had the last remnants today of Cavs Heat fodder because Kyle Anderson decided to say that Darius Garland being hurt actually helped the Cavaliers because the Heat couldn't figure them out with him off the floor of who to attack. That they looked better without Darius Garland. So kind of bringing a full circle thing. Kyle Anderson either sticking up for Tyler Herro or just being really, really honest. I'm not really sure what to make of it. But it was funny. It was funny that they had to go back there. And I saw Kenny Atkinson had to be like, well, we are happy with our all-star guard. Hey, look, man, you should be. You guys are kicking ass right now and steamrolling as they get ready for the Indiana Pacers. But, of course, in the midst of all that, this has brought forth a lot of people's thoughts on the Miami Heat and their offseason and where they're at. I got to say, a lot of bleak outlooks. A lot of people looking at the Miami Heat and saying that the outlook is not great for them, at least in this iteration of this upcoming season, which I understand. I don't think this is one of those things where as a Heat fan and somebody who loves the team, I'm not saying it's impossible for the Miami Heat to dig their way out of it. I would never accuse them of that because they do have levers to pull, more picks available to them now, more assets available. I think the thing that's interesting with the Miami Heat right now is just like how attractive of a destination is it for anybody if they did want to, if somebody did become available, like KD, because he seems to be the most popular name that's out there. Would he want to come down here? Would this be the place? Now, I can make arguments for it. I think that if you're Kevin Durant and you look about fit of roster, if it didn't take giving up Kel'el Ware to get him, and you had basically you swap down Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Durant, you bring back Davion Mitchell, you have a stronger Kel'el Ware, you have a Nico coming off the bench, maybe you lose Duncan Robinson in the fold, you get more at Alex Burke. Like, is that impossible for that team to do some good things, especially if another team fell by the wayside? I think you could talk yourself into it. I would be excited to watch it, but I don't know. But on the other side of it, for the Bobby Marks, who's telling Heat fans hey man, you just don't got enough. You don't got the ponies to stack up and go to Giannis to Giannis Atsetville or things like that. The thing that's going to be interesting, though, if any of these guys become available, like the pipe dream like Giannis, if that did become a thing, I think all Heat fans are shook because of the summer of Dame. Like, you don't even want to bother, even if he puts out a list. I don't even want him to put out a list to say, hey, I want to go to the Miami Heat, because that seems like it is blown up in the Heat's face nonstop, left and right. And I'm trying to learn from my ways. But the other thing is, I think it's an organizational philosophy too, right? Like there is going to be a lot of wholesale changes in the league next year. That's for sure. Like even people who want to look at the East as it is right now, I think it's a tough sell because look, there's reports even coming out this week that this is probably going to be the last run for the Boston Celtics as we know it. Now it'll probably now shift to if they beat the Cavaliers, that's their last ride. If they don't, then this could be the markings of the Cavs 4-year run for right now. But those things are always hard to determine of where things are at right now. But I will say the fact that the Heat have a little bit of a chest of things to go shopping with now is it's better, but I don't know where the organization's confidence level is right now in their top two guys as building blocks to build around, right? Like that's the fascinating thing about getting smoked the way that the Heat did and why it was so damaging was because you had to really question what players are going to want to play with Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo to think that they can get them somewhere. And when you talk about all these things, that was never a question. Now, I still think that for Bam, there's value there because, one, I don't think he gets in the way of many star players as far as being able to help him win, especially on the defensive side of things, screening guys open, assists, being a good lob threat for somebody, and all that stuff. I don't think there's any stepping on the toes there. And I don't think Tyler Herro is an issue with that because I think Tyler has shown his ability to, a willingness to be off the ball more. His big thing right now is everybody's looking at him like a bullseye on the defensive side. But look, in defense of Tyler, every single guard who's good offensively right now basically deals with the same thing. Brunson's dealing with it. Halliburton deals with it. Luka's dealing with it. Reeves was dealing with it. It's not an unheard of thing that, hey, this guy's your biggest offensive hub, but he's also a bit of a sieve on defense. That kind of is what the playoffs is. The thing that Tyler, I was watching the end of the Knicks yesterday, and I think the thing that you marvel about in a guy like Jalen Brunson is he's just never out of a play. Like what they did to Tyler Herro and taking him out of his game, it just doesn't happen to Jalen Brunson. And this is coming from watching him against the Miami Heat in a playoff series or any of these. Like there's just a relentlessness to him. He had to go up against Oscar Thompson, who, is a demon. He can kind of like cover all this span all over the place, and there were times where he got him, but there was never a give to that. And I think for Tyler, that's probably like the next phase is like, all right, we know I can get cooking. And I think we've seen pockets of it, like not relenting on things. But, can he get to that? And, people may scoff at it right now, but like, look, dude, the funny thing about Jalen Brunson is nobody thought Jalen Brunson was going to be this when he went to the New York Knicks. Like he was not going to be the dude. Like he was going to be the first piece, and a little bit like Jimmy. Like he was going to be the first piece, and it was going to bring into the fold some more stuff for the New York Knicks. Now, we'll see what they're able to do against the Celtics. They still haven't sniffed the conference finals with them. So that's still a big step for them. But people, I think, why they're so bleak on the Heat right now is just because those two guys didn't even seem like they put up a fight. And I don't really have a defense for that as somebody who follows the team, right? Like it's one thing to go out swinging and to have good performances and to get your butt kicked, but like you saw pockets. I don't know when you lose the way that they did in such historic fashion, what star wants to sign up for that, And then at that point, your most attractiveness becomes, well, no one's going to step on your toes, and it's an awesome place to live. Now, it's not impossible because we've seen this front office be able to work in the past before to do the recruiting pitch and see. And I think the thing with the Heat that's going to be interesting is like they're going to know we're going to get a sense of their plans anyway. I don't think the Heat are going to go into this thing and allow themselves to be leveraged as a maybe. I think if they think that they got a chance, that they'll push forth. It's going to be interesting with this Lakers thing because certainly we're all going to be watching the Luka Doncic decision and seeing whether or not he's going to stay with the Lakers or sign with the Lakers. It's going to be interesting if LeBron's legit about this whole opting in, staying with the Lakers. Does he feel an obligation to the Lakers? Does he want to go anywhere else? Is that a play for the Heat? If it's not Kevin Durant, is there a LeBron swan song that's somewhere in the mode too? Because I do think this. Look, there's going to be, because the West was so competitive and stars are going to be like looking around. I do think there's going to be a bit of a musical chairs of like, all right, well, where does everybody go, and what makes sense of what team to land on, and does that benefit Miami in some regard? But I understand why they're at their most critical juncture. When you get, Spo said this at his press conference, like, you own the embarrassment, you own the ass kicking, and you deserve all the criticism that comes with it, and you're going to deserve the skepticism that comes with it. And right now, I think there's people even wondering, like, hey, like, you know, you get the news today of Greg Popovich stepping down, and that gets Heat fans wondering, like, is there going to be, like, that was the pillar of consistency, and yeah, he's staying with the organization, but does that mean for the Heat there's going to be some kind of reshuffling, refolding of the cards and figuring out where they want to go from here? And I'm sure there's plenty of the Miami Heat in their mindset saying, like Dwayne Wade in Game 3, I ain't going out like that. I'm sure Spo feels like that as a coach. I'm sure Riley feels like that as the president of basketball operations. But look, Riley stepped a couple times away as the head coach. And yes, he was still with the organization, but he typically did it after, like, it looked over for an era. So this, in a lot of ways, the Jimmy Butler era coming to an end this year, it does feel like a crossroad place for the Miami Heat. And while, yeah, you may get the thing that's caused because it's like, oh, you know, Jimmy's going to look like the Joker walking away from the hospital because he blew up everything and made Pat Riley quit or made Spo stop coaching, whatever. First of all, it was taxing on the organization. And second of all, man, he's got his own problems to work with. Unless this ends with Jimmy Butler hoisting a trophy at the end of the year, ultimately, you know, you're not going to be like the loudest of wrong. We'll see. But I don't think there would be anything wrong if the organization decided that this offseason is the pivot point. And even if that means resetting a little bit, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. You got your own pick this year. You can set yourself up. And I don't even think that means doing too much because, look, this team, even through the struggles of all of it, wasn't fantastic. And they are terrible in fourth quarters. And there's got to be some growth there and some figuring some things out. But, you know, maybe this is a bit of a year where you look around now. Will Bam and Tyler stand up for that? Sit up for that? Well, I don't know. But this is as much of a crossroads as this organization has been in a while. And they've been there before. I mean, right after Dwayne Wade left, they were at a bit of a crossroads, and it looked really, really bleak in the middle of that season up until the incredible turnaround happened. I remember the Pat Riley, David Aldridge interview where, like, they had to evaluate all those things, and you could tell Riley was starting to think about the tanking word. And then, you know, everything went crazy. Everything went haywire. Philly cheese was unstoppable, and then they fell too in love with that team. But they're now at another point where the Jimmy Butler era is over. D-Wade was talking about this on his podcast. Like, see what Jimmy meant to the organization. What are those young guys going to do about it? And what does the organization believe in them to get something done? So, fascinating times ahead for the Heat, that's for sure. But, you know, for the Lows out there, the Bobby Markses, all these people, all these pundits, the tweets, all the people who are putting forth a bleak outlook. Look, it's not a place it's not like the Heat have never been there before. And I understand why. They don't have the most assets. They don't have the sexiest young team. That would be the Rockets. They don't have the most assets. That would be the Thunder. I would say, you know, right now in there, what is the best thing they got is the city's the most awesome, you know, and that hasn't been enough to land anything recently. So we'll see if they can change the narrative on that because that is the thinking right now.